I never met my real father, though he no doubt exists because he keeps sending money month after month. Nobody talks about it, and everyone pretends this is not the money Mom and I live on. But it is. Whatever she makes at the nursery is barely enough to put gas in the car and food on the table, though I figured it should have been enough for Mom to live on, living as she did in her mother's house and everything. Why wouldn't it have been enough, I wondered. So, last spring, during my last year in high school, I said as much, and said moreover, I thought it a good idea to use my dad's money to put me through school. By rights, he sent the money for me and not for Mum. She asked me, didn't I want to go to Columbia College over towards Sonora so I could keep living with her and Grandma? But I did not feel like spending 2 years at some junior college in the sticks when everybody else was going places. I had good grades and thought that with my background, absentee father, mother without any income to speak of, it would not be all that hard to get a grant and go to a real school, so we quarrelled some over that. This was about 1.5 years ago, and sometime after the quarrel, and without having settled things, I hitched a ride with friends from school who wanted to go down to Santa Cruz to see the campus and check things out, maybe go up to Davis too, as it is cheaper and still a UC campus. All of this was supposed to happen during a single weekend. I was the one who had been to Santa Cruz before and they knew it, and so they wanted me to come with them. The only scholarship I had been offered was for Chico State, up north. Not all of the offers were in yet, and there was no reason to pounce on the first one, even if it turned out to be the only one to come in. And I did not want to go to a place as flat as Chico, down in the valley and smelling of fertilizer. Even Davis would have been a step up. Berkeley would have been way too expensive. San Francisco State would probably have been a good alternative. Anyway, we really fancied Santa Cruz, or at least it was what I fancied. Maybe I just loved the coast down there, the way the world looked waking up when we came down the empty highway through Half Moon Bay and Davenport in the morning, with the fog lifting off, the ocean beyond it, and the cormorants and seagulls above it. Queen Anne's lace growing all along the highway. So pretty. I cannot remember why we came that way. It would have been much shorter going through Mountain View, San Jose and over Highway 17, but we did. The campus of UC Santa Cruz is located on the hills high above town in the middle of a redwood forest. At one time the whole place was a single ranch, and there are pictures of it by Ansel Adams from the 60s when the state bought the ranch and turned it into a campus. From up there, you can look all the way across Monterey Bay, and people say that it is actually too nice a campus for studying. You are not supposed to ride your car up there unless you have a permit and live there, so we parked downtown and took one of the shuttle buses up there. Every time the shuttle stopped on the way up, the people who got off through the back door would holler, "Thank you, driver," and I thought that a nice thing to do. There were not all that many people on the bus or up on campus, it being a weekend. It did not actually make a lot of sense to go there when all the administrative buildings were closed and we could not even get any material on enrollment and grants and all that. But we did not care. We had just come down on a whim to take a look, and having missed the first of the colleges for all the trees that hide things up there, we got off at the next one, Cowell. There was nothing at all happening, and we were lucky the coffee shop was open. On the way to the bathroom though, out in the hall, I looked at the course list and the faculty roster, and there found the name of the one man Mom had loved, and I had loved him too. There was no mistaking it, for his name is my name, which he took when Mom and him married in Reno, so he would be able to stay in the country as a legal alien, rather than have to go back to Germany, where he was from. On getting married, he had taken her name, the idea of being a woman's liver, and he became the closest thing to a living dad I have ever had. Of course, that is not how things worked out. He was not with us for more than a year when we knew him, and since then more than 10 years had passed by the time I found myself in front of the bulletin board in the hallway. Still, for that 1 year we had been a family, and when he and Mum broke up, I took it just about as hard as she did. I'm not even sure we ever talked about it, Mom and I, but to me it was clear he must have gone back to Germany once his time was up, and that he must have gotten his degree in Germany and was probably holding down a job there, was married and had children like as not. But here was his name, listed as the teacher of a German lit class. Sure, it could have been a strange coincidence, but I just knew it was not. At the time he met Mom, he had been an exchange student on a German government grant there at UCSC, almost too good to be true when you think about it, and we had spent many a weekend down there in Santa Cruz. He was house-sitting a place outside of town, in the middle of an orange grove, and he had this ancient car, I remember, a 61 Mercury Comet with a steering wheel as big as a truck's, and when we did not drive down in Mom's car, he would come up to San Francisco and stay with us, and it sure was a lovely time while it lasted. Like I said, it could not have been more than a year, but in my memory it takes up half of my childhood, the other years running into one another bland and the same. I did not even go back to finish my coffee, but just walked past the open door of the coffee shop, hollering something at the others, and went down the corridor and up the stairs of the college until I found his office and the sign with his office hours, standing a long time in front of the locked door. Much longer than it took me to take down his phone number and office hours and the classes he taught, one of them a freshman class. The others were out on the patio when I came down the stairs, raising their eyebrows expectantly, but I just shrugged and we walked over to the parking lot and took the bus downtown. It wheezed just as heavily going down the hill as it had coming up. We did not go to Davis or Berkeley that day or the next, because it turned out that this local band from San Andreas we knew was playing that night at the Catalyst, and my friends got all excited, thinking what a streak of luck, as if it meant anything. I did not care, because my mind was elsewhere. I almost expected Nick to show up somewhere, kept my eyes open and wandering like someone on the run. The guys from the band were happy to see us, though we barely knew them personally, and they actually managed to sneak us in through the back. None of us was 21 yet, so we sure appreciated it. When the band came on in this auditorium-type place in the back, the others seemed to have a good time, but I thought it was so different to see our local bands there in the city, small and nervous and barely audible on the big stage. It was like taking a pretty pebble out of a creek and seeing it heel over and lose its luster almost as soon as it breaks the water's surface. Up close in your hand you find it to be just a rock with a bit of mud clinging to it and a dank pond smell perhaps. The band played the same songs they play up in Calaverse in the park by the creek or over in Sonora, but the sound was flat and tinny in the large corrugated metal warehouse, and the student crowd somehow made them look stupid with their dated hypnoid exhortations to think positive and to be a family and of love lifting you higher, all those songs that used to mean the world to us. I do not think I have gone to see them play since. I kept looking around, and after a while I wandered back out front and sat at one of the tables facing the street. There is a rowboat hanging from the ceiling at the Catalyst, and I studied that for a while without actually seeing it, then just stared out at the people coming down the sidewalk, until my friend Tila suddenly sat down across from me. She is named after a science fiction character, and she had come out looking for me, wondering whether I was all right. "What's going on?" she asked me, raising these droopy eyelids she has that make her look sleepy all the time and very seductive. I just shook my head, then took her hands on the table as if to dance with her and told her what I had just learned up on campus. "I knew something was on your mind when you came back," she said. "You looked totally spooked." "So what do I do?" "What would you do?" "I don't know," she shrugged. "Like do what?" Don't know. Go see him, talk to him, see what he has to say. But why? Just 'cause. I mean, we haven't seen or heard from him. Yeah, well, but isn't that kind of normal when you break up? I told her that I thought my mum was still thinking about him a lot and that the way they had broken up had never made sense to me, but I really couldn't say what it was that made me feel like I had to see him and talk to him. Just trust your senses, Tila said. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then that's what's going to happen, right? I shrugged and looking past her saw the others come out of the auditorium, ready to hit the road. Tila kept looking at me without turning her head. If she expected a decision out of me, she was not getting it from me that night.